All right, let's continue on. So what I'd like you to do for now is just go to your desktop or wherever you save the BMI program, OneDrive, whatever it happens to be. All right, and then open up the BMI folder, open up the source folder if you use the same naming convention as me, the COM folder, the example folder, and you see you've got 3 files in there. You've got BMI, BMI driver, and iBMI is what you should see in there. All right, we're going to copy the material from all 3 of those into our next program, so we don't have to do a lot of rewrite. All right, we probably will be able to rewrite this and be done by around 3:15 or so. Okay, so I want to do it this way. You don't have to do it the way I'm doing it. I'm going to open up each one of these in Notepad++. So there's my BMI.java file. There is my iBMI file, and there's my driver. You with me? All right. Then I'm going to go back into IntelliJ, and I'm going to close this. So I'm going to do a file, close project. And I'm going to create a new project. All right. And in that new project, I'm going to just do a next. I'm going to call this one BMI with exceptions. BMI with exceptions. So remember, that's not the name of my class or anything. That's just the name of the project. All right, so BMI with exceptions, and I'm going to click finish. All right, as we've done before, then I'm going to come in here, right mouse click on my source folder, do a new, do a package, do a com.example for the package name. Now it's where we'll save some time. So first, I'm going to come in and right mouse click on here, do a new, and I'm going to again do, so make sure you're in your package here. Right mouse click, do a new, and I'm going to choose Java class, but I'm going to choose interface, and I'm going to come in here just like we did before. I'm going to do this iBMI with a big I, a big B, and a little MI. Make sure you set it to interface just like we did before and hit enter. It should look like this when you get done. All right. Then I'm going to go to where I copied this and I'm going to find my iBMI file. And I don't need line 1 because it's already in there, but I'm just going to grab the rest of it. And I'm going to replace, in fact, I could just replace all of it with that, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do this. Does that make sense what we just did? All right, so we've got that one. I'm going to again right mouse click on here and do the same thing with the other 2 files. So I'm going to do Java class, and again, I'm just going to call this one BMI. All right, then I'm going to come back into here. Now I don't need my iBMI.java anymore, so I'm going to close that one. And I'm going to open up my BMI one. All right, I'm just going to grab all of it, Control A, Control C, and I'm going to paste it into here. But I'm going to replace everything that's in here with this. It's not showing me any errors, so it appears as though it had no problems with it. With me? Okay. Finally, I'm going to do one more time. I'm going to right mouse click again on my com.example folder. Do one more new Java or new class. Make sure it's a Java class, and it's going to be BMI driver, just like we did before. All right. And I'm going to copy in everything from the BMI driver that I had previously. So Control A, Control C, and then I'm just going to copy it in. All right. Now I could run it right now if I really wanted to, just to prove that everything was cool. You know what I'm saying? But it should be okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is a file save all, so I've got everything saved. Now I should not have to change my, sorry, this thing keeps slipping. Ugh. I should not have to change my iBMI file at all. Did you hear me? I shouldn't have to change that. So I'm just going to close that file. You know, out of sight, out of mind type of thing. I don't want to take a chance of accidentally goofing up that file or whatever. So I'm going to go up to the iBMI Java file and just close it. All right. Then whichever one I want to do next is up to me, but I'm going to go to the BMI Java file. All right. Now, when we do this, listen to me. When we do this, you're going to get errors because we're going to have to add 2 more files. Did you hear me? Both the files that we add, this is how big they are. See that? So it will not take us long to do that. We could add the files first, but I'm just doing it this way. You know, whether that's right or whether that's wrong. All right. So right here, we've got this default height, right? See this line? We're not going to use our default height anymore. We could really remove it if we wanted to, but instead, we're going to throw the word throw, and we're going to put in here BMI height exception. Now, you're going to get an error when you do this. You're going to get an error, and I think there's parens there. There might not be. I'll tell you in a minute. All right? You're going to get an error because that does not exist. That's what we're going to create in just a minute. All right? And I'm going to copy that line, and then a little later down here, I'm going to throw a BMI weight exception. So I now have introduced 2 errors into my program, right? So we have to create both those files. We're going to do that right now, literally in just a matter of seconds. Are you both caught up? Was that a yes or no? Okay. Like I said, I'm 99.9% sure we need the parens here and here. If we don't, you're going to know right away. But to me, you have to. All right. All right. So we're going to come back to here where we've got our com.example. We're going to right mouse click on here and do 2 more new Java classes. So make sure it's a class, and you want to give them these names. One will be BMI height exception. The other one will be BMI weight exception. Now, just so you know, after we create the height one, just copy it to the clipboard, because when we do the weight one, you'll just have to change the H's to W's. Does that make sense? All right. So BMI height exception. It is not, repeat, it is not mandatory when you, this is our own exception. When you create your own exceptions, it is not mandatory that you put the word exception in there. It is considered common practice. You're throwing an exception. Now let's see, when we look here, look on the screen if you would. See how that I still got an error, but it's not red anymore? It does recognize it, but it says you got nothing inside of there. So once we put something inside of there, that should go away. Now, one thing about exceptions, every time you create an exception, it has to extend. So this is the first time we're seeing inheritance. It extends the exception class. It has to. But we want to do more than that. Why? Because we want to use our interface. So it also implements BMI. Just going to hit enter right there. Now, I don't know why that's giving me that. I do have because I made it a little MI here. There we go. There. All right. You know that the case this has to match. Okay. Now, when you do this, you call super. S-U-P-E-R, like Superman. And what that does is it's going to call this. Look on the screen. It calls this automatically. And you just go, why do you do that? Because that's the way it's done. I mean, that's a really crummy explanation, but it's the one I was given when I asked. All right. So we're going to put this in here. Super. And this is what? This is height. So height, input, error. The inputted height must be between, between, and this is going to be a little long, sorry, but it must be between min height. Not sure why it's not seeing that, but it's not. And max height. All right. And we need a paren there. That's why I'm getting one of those errors at least. So what do we have here? Unexpected token plus unknown class min height. Create min height, final int. More actions. Let's see. Create param. No, I don't want to do that. Trying to figure out why that's not working because it should be. Because if we get the error for the first one, we're going to get the error for the second one because it's basically the same thing. Super. Let's be between. Well, I'm not sure right now. But before we do anything, let's do a file save all. All right. Let's copy this entire thing right here. Just copy it. All right. Right mouse click again on here. Do a new. Do a Java class. And this one will be BMI weight exception. And you can copy the other one in, but you're going to have to change all your H's to W's. All right. I'm not sure why I'm getting these. So I'm going to do a file save all. I'm going to go back to my, let's see, it doesn't like this either. Method call expected. BMI height exception. Throw BMI height exception. BMI height exception. BMI height exception. That would make sense. Oh, I know what the problem is. We'll fix it. Okay. All right. It was stupid on my part. So what we have to do is we have to let the system know that now we're working with exceptions. All right. The software, like I'm being right now, is kind of stupid. All right. So when we come in here, and I just want to make sure I'm giving you the right syntax, so give me a second. Of course, I lost my notes, but that's okay. We'll figure it out anyway. Let's see. Not there. This is this might be the wrong place, so if you don't type it in if you were, so. Because I sure don't like this. I dropped these notes before, so they're all out of order. They're here, but I just got to find the right ones. Throw new. See, that's correct. Throw new. Here. There we go. Okay. All right. This code right here throws these exceptions. That is correct. It's just in the wrong place. It's got to be in the driver. Nope, not there in the driver though. So it has to be in the, now what's your problem? All right. In the constructors. All right, throws. Now that didn't give me any errors. That's good. There. All right, but it's telling me I got a bunch of problems, so I'll have to look at those. But I'm going to do a file, save all, and I want to see what these errors, what it gives me right here. It doesn't like something that I'm doing. Go to the driver. All right, illegal start of type. All right, so it starts here. It doesn't like this. My goal is to get this done in the next half hour, so you can get the heck out of here and you've got this one out and done from here. All right, so what am I missing? Public class, BMI, exception, extends exception, implements. Ah, that's it. You got to give it a name. Public BMI, height exception, parenthesis. Okay, that one should be fixed. That's height. Weight exception, curly. That one. Save all. Driver. Exceptions, method signature. Okie dokie. All right. Okay. All right. File. Save all. Well, that wasn't too bad. I fixed it. All right. Give you all these in order. Go back to your height exception, please. I forgot you got to surround that with a public like this. You have to add this line and that line. See this? You right now just have the super call. I left it out. All right. So make yours look like this. This is the height one. The weight one will look the same again, except instead of height, you'll be saying weight. So when you got this one, let me know when I'll bring up the other one. I figured this would be a lot faster than retyping it though. Problems?
I have errors, I must have mistyped something somewhere along the
Okay.
line, so I'll have to go back and
Okay.
that.
Okay. Not with
The
this one?
logic and not with the.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so here's the weight one. Oh, this might have caused a lot of errors in your program, just so you know.
no. Okay.
Because there's a
okay.
bunch of places now we're gonna have to change it in our
Oh,
program.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
It wasn't even seeing it before. That's why you weren't getting those errors, because it was in there incorrectly.
Okay.
All right, so make sure you change this one to weight. Let me know when you got those done. You're okay? You're both okay? All right. So then go back to the BMI file, bmi.java. All right. And in both of your constructors, you've got to say this. Throws BMI height exception, throws BMI weight exception. You can put it on another line if that makes it easier to, whoops, I don't know what I did there. If it makes it easier for you to read, put it on another line like I just did there. And if not, then don't. And you're gonna have to put it in this one too. So both constructors, what that is letting the system know is it is possible that somewhere inside of there, you could possibly be throwing an exception. Either a height or a weight. It doesn't mean that you got one. Look on the screen here. It means that one of these things, one of these set routines could possibly throw an exception. All right. Now, I did not write one for the first name and the last name. We could have written one for the first name and the last name where we check for a blank space. Remember how we're handling it now? We're using trim, and we're saying if it's blank to use the default. That's just another way. So you're seeing in here both the use of exceptions and doing it without an exception handler. All right? But you're writing your own exceptions, which is pretty cool. Do you both have these? All right, then you've got to go down all the way to set weight and set height. The set height, you have to put throws height exception, and for the set weight, you've got to put throws weight exception. Don't put them both in. And then you'll have to change this. See what we're doing now? If it's out of range, we're throwing an exception on purpose. That's really, really extreme. Okay? You really should only be throwing exceptions like this if it's something where you want the program to stop. Did you hear what I said? And when you think about it, like when we were doing that last program, that array one, if you did that array one and you put in something when it expected a number and you put in a non-number, remember we didn't check that, but we were catching that numeric format exception. That's a cleaner way to handle it than the way that we're doing it now. We're still not done, but we're almost there. Did that fix up all the errors that you had? No, it did for Keegan. Okay, that just didn't keep working.
Okay.
All right. So you still have errors?
I do. It's probably something.
Well, let's see if we can figure out what it is. I'd like to have both ears running before we call it a day. So let's see. Just take your mouse and put it over the set height one.
Okay.
Oh, is this in your driver or is it in your program?
I think it's in here.
Okay, go back to the regular program.
Okay.
All right. Okay, well you've got this, make it say throw new instead of throw.
Okay.
But that is correct.
Okay.
So put your mouse over and tell me what it says. It says throwable provided exception. Height. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go to the driver and I'll show you what you got to fix there.
Okay.
Okay, and if we need to, I'll either give you a copy of mine or I'll run you off a copy and you can change yours accordingly. Now, right now, I've changed nothing in the driver. Did you hear me? I've changed nothing in the driver. All right. But I have to if I want to make sure this stuff actually gets called. I have to put everything that I'm working on into a try-catch block. Okay? So when I say everything, basically just about everything that's in main right here is going to now go into a try-catch block. So try. Okay? And for now, I'm just going to remove the ending curly. All right? So I'm just going to remove that. And I'm going to, whoops, one day I'll get used to this new keyboard. All right, so I'm going to grab everything that's in here and tab it over one. All right, so now I've got to try. Now I don't have any errors anymore, okay? But I've got to be catching my stuff. So the first thing I want to catch is a BMI. It doesn't matter which one we do first, but I'm going to try to catch a height exception. All right, and I'll call it HE for height exception. You can call it whatever you want. All right. And I'm just going to say here, system.out.println HE for height exception dot get message. What's going to be cool is if we did this right, the message it's going to print out is the one we created. All right. And the other one we want to catch, so I'm just going to copy this. And I want to catch a weight exception. And I'll call it WE. Now, if you look up on the screen for just a minute, please. Okay? What problems do we have in here? Well, right now, guess what? We don't have any problems. So if we want to make this blow up, I'm going to set his height back to 600 and the weight to there. See that? Now the magic will either happen or there's something wrong. So I'm going to run it. And I should actually get an error. See that? Look. Input error. The inputted height must be between 12 and 96. That was our error. Does that make sense? Now look on the screen again, please. I'm going to go and change this one, and I'm going to fix it. But now it should hit the weight one. See that? So again, I'm going to save this and run it again. And you can see that indeed it does. All right. So we put in our own exception handling into this program. But again, in this case, using exception handling was extreme because we're causing the program to quit. One thing, there is no go-to statement in this language. So, I mean, could we have done other things? We probably could have went back and called the function again or done something like we kind of did before with the if statements. Now, some people are just, they use exception handling all the time. Other people will tell you, no kidding, all kidding aside, that it's evil. And you should almost never use it. You should only worry about Java exceptions and never write your own. I've said this kind of thing before. I'm saying it again right now. There's 4 ways that you can handle problems in a Java program, just like in C#. First way is to do nothing and just hope that whoever runs your program never makes a mistake and you never have bad data that goes in. It's probably the worst way of doing it, but there are programs out there that are like that. All right? So I call it like the ostrich method. You hide your head and you hope it never happens. The second way is to use if statements. All right, the bad news about using if statements is you've let the bad data in and now you're handling it. See what I'm saying? The third way is what we're doing now with exception handling. It catches it before it's even got a chance to get in. What you find most people do, the fourth way, is a hybrid of the other two. So they do a certain amount of if statements and a certain amount of try-catch. So you might have if statements if you remember when we did that program earlier today, that's kind of what we did. Remember we did the try catch with the array thing? But we also had the if statement. So if you put in a number, we could have thrown an exception. We could have thrown a Java exception if you put in a number that was less than 0 or a number that was greater than 8. We could have done that. The program would have died right there probably, but we could have done it. All right. Or we could even come back in here where we did this. I don't know. I mean, there is a way of doing it. What I'm about to show you probably wouldn't work, but I don't know if you can actually come back in here when we do the super. I don't know if you can come back and say like BMI dot and then call a routine. All right. Like, I don't know. It doesn't look like it. Is what we just went over, does it make some sense? It's not going to probably make perfect sense. It's the first time you've seen this stuff. Do you still have a lot of errors in yours, Angie?
No, not a lot.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you try to work on them and see, and if you can't get them, then just raise your hand. I'll be glad to at least try to help you with them. All right. Keegan, you're good then? Yours worked? Yep. All right. So what we're going to do tomorrow, and we're going to do it very slow. Again, right now we've got a basic hourly employee class that we wrote earlier. All right. We are going to go and add. We're going to have an employee class. We're going to have a commission class. I think it was called commission worker, an hourly worker, a commission worker, a piece worker, and a salaried worker. All right. If you don't know this, maybe you do, maybe you don't, and maybe you don't care. But for example, I'm salaried. All right. They don't care. Technically, if I'm sick a week, when I had some problems a couple years ago, and when I had those problems, I got paid. I wasn't here, but I got paid. But as far as they're concerned, even if I come in here at 5 a.m. and I stay until midnight every night, I still get paid the same thing. That makes sense? So that's a salaried person. That's what we'll say. So if somebody makes $1,000 a week, they make 52 grand a year regardless of how many hours they work. All right. Hourly, you already know. Piece worker, we'll set it up so that if you've ever done any work with piece work, I've got a brother who worked for years ago when Evinrude Motors was in Wisconsin. He worked for Evinrude Motors. And literally, they made good money back then because we're talking 30 years ago, 30 years ago. And you made $15 an hour, even if you did nothing. So they had guys who would go in and they would, as he put it, take an hour-long dump. And they made $15 for it. All right. But they had other guys that worked on different parts of the engines that the more they made, the more money they made. Does that make sense? So they busted their butt for 8 hours a day so they could make a lot for that day. So we'll do that. And then we'll have commission workers that basically says that, you'll get a salary plus you get a percentage of your sales. So all that makes sense? So we'll set all that up next week. We will have an hour. You got it? Good. We'll have an hourly employee class. All right. We will have a salaried employee class. We will have a piece worker employee class, and we will have a commission worker employee class. So what we will do is we will first just create an employee class, and we'll say that all employees have, for example, a first name, a last name, etc. And we'll do that. And that class will be called an abstract class. When a class is abstract, you can't make, like if we had made BMI an abstract class, you couldn't make BMI objects. I've used this example before. Hopefully you remember it from last semester. But it's like if somebody says to you, hey, I got a pet yesterday. Your first question might be, what kind of pet did you get? All right. I got a dog yesterday. Well, what kind of dog did you get? I got a St. Bernard. There's a big difference because I can make a St. Bernard object. I probably can't make a dog object or an animal object. But I could make an abstract class called animal, and I could say all animals have, just for example, maybe they don't, but I could say feet. All right, something like that. So I'm going to say all employees will have a first name, a last name, and maybe a social security number or an employee number. And they all earn something, but they all earn it differently. Would you agree with that? A piece worker earns different than an hourly, etc. So we're going to do all of that. I don't care if it takes the whole period. And if we get it done, then maybe we'll add some exceptions into that. Once we get done with that, by this time tomorrow, probably then, because we're doing, hopefully, do you think am I going too fast? No? Okay. Then probably on Wednesday, I might even just give you the test already on Wednesday. All right. And give you the whole period. If you get it done in a period, you might. It's totally fine. All right. You still have until, like I said, Tuesday when you come in here to turn it in. So you can, look at it, etc. All right. Now, and I'm going to stop this for a second.